Okay, I think we have our MC on the call now. Mukhtar, can you take it up from here?
Yes, ma. Good afternoon, ma. Good morning, ma.
Good morning.
I'm so sorry. I was having issues with my system. That was why I'm just
No
joining,
problem,
ma.
no problem, no problem. It's a recorded session. Please go ahead.
Ma.
No, your network is bad.
Hello, hope you can hear me.
Okay, we can hear you now. It was quite shaky earlier.
Hello,
Yes, we can hear you.
hello, ma. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Okay, don't worry, Mukhtar. I think I will just take it up. Let me just continue where I stopped. So, Rukayat, can you say I now? Let's be sure that.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Good morning. I can hear you. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to read their profile. I will start with Rukaya. Rukayat Badamosi is a 500 level pharmacy student at the University of Lagos, passionate about learning, innovation, and creating meaningful impact. She has a strong interest in drug discovery and computational approaches in pharmaceutical research. With active involvement in computer-aided drug design, CADD, and molecular modeling, she currently serves as the female coordinator of the Pharmaceutical Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, PMSSN, UNILAG chapter, where she contributes to leadership, collaboration, and community development. Beyond academics, she enjoys listening to the Quran, nature photography, and studying human nature. Such a beautiful profile. And we have also our co-mentee, Ibukun Abigail Ogeneore Name. Name, sorry if I did not pronounce that well. Is a 500 level physiotherapy student at the University of Benin, passionate about healthcare and human well-being. Beyond academics, he's an avid volunteer who believes in the power of community and service. In her leisure time, she enjoys taking walks, listening to music, taking pictures, and reading novels. A self-proclaimed fan of native jollof spaghetti, okay, Abigail brings both dedication and a warm personality to everything she does. Wow. So today we are going to be learning from both of them about conflict resolution. I'm sure to some people you would think conflict only happens maybe amongst countries, amongst maybe in the workplace or something, but conflict happens everywhere. So today we are going to be learning from both of them how to resolve conflicts. So, and many thanks to their mentor, Mariam Amao, who has also been guiding them through this journey. We hope she's going to join us on the call today. And I want to recognize the presence of one of our mentors, Mr. Uluwatobi Badiru, who will help us give feedback. Then we'll see if we have other mentors who can do this. We have just 9 people on the call. Please, let's encourage people to join. Okay, I would also like to recognize our Director of Education, Mrs. Oluwakemi Adeshola, who just joined us now. So please confirm you can see your screen now.
Yes, ma, I can.
Okay, so I'll put it on full mode and you have the floor.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ibukun Abigail, and alongside Rukaya Badamosi, we'll be taking us through today's topic, which is conflict resolution. Please, next slide. Okay, so conflict majorly is something that we all experience, whether in our families, friendships, school groups, workplace, church projects, and even in mentorship programs like this. But most times, persons struggle to actually handle this conflict effectively. Some persons tend to avoid it completely, while others become defensive or aggressive when conflict arises. So today we will be looking at how we can approach conflict differently and also develop healthy ways of resolving disagreements or conflict. So before we begin, here is a quick overview of what we'll be discussing. The next slide. So this is a check-in question. I would like every one of us to think about this question, and you could drop your responses on the chat box. Have you ever avoided someone just because of a conflict? Maybe that someone could be your classmate, your friend, your family member, or even somebody in a group you belong to. So if you have done that, you could just drop your response on the chat box. So many times we notice that many persons tends to avoid people because we want to protect our peace, our energy, and also our boundary. And honestly, that is very understandable. But however, avoiding conflict does not necessarily solve it. It only leads to many unresolved conflicts, which later on, if it's not tackled, it gives a full blown disagreement. So the truth is that conflict is not really the problem. So the problem is often our inability to actually navigate it effectively. So next slide. Okay. So understanding conflict. So to understand conflict resolution, we must first understand conflict itself. So conflict majorly arises when two or more people they have incompatible needs, values, opinions, expectations, or goals. So in simple terms, we can say conflict happens when two persons see things differently. And because every individual has different experiences, beliefs, personalities, and also perspectives, conflict is inevitable. It's something that must happen. So we should see conflict as a natural part of everyday relationship or everyday conversation. So majorly, conflict is not necessarily the sign that something is wrong. In fact, sometimes conflict can be very beneficial, which is what we call the productive conflict. Now, the productive conflict allows people to share different perspectives, and it encourages healthy decisions and often leads to better decisions. So, for example, in a team project, members may disagree on the best approach to take, but if they come together to discuss their ideas respectfully and work towards a solution, the conflict becomes productive. So that is what productive conflict is all about. On the other hand, we have destructive conflict. Now, destructive conflict occurs when people attack each other instead of addressing the actual issue. So the focus shifts from resolving the problem to blaming or criticizing or hurting others. And when this happens, relationship tends to suffer. So the goal basically is not to eliminate conflict. The goal is to ensure that conflict remains productive but than destructive. So next slide. Okay. Another Another important thing that we have to take note of is that is actually what happens in our mind when there is conflict. So when conflict feels like a threat, your thinking brain partially goes offline. You're not thinking, you're not your brain is not, I don't know how to put it, but like your thinking brain just goes offline. The same way when we put off our data, we tend to go offline from the outside world. So see, when conflict when conflict happens like that, the brain tends to go offline. And what this means is that oftentimes we feel attacked, we feel criticized, embarrassed, and instead of responding to it thoughtfully, we tend to react impulsively. So this is why later on people sometimes say when they had this conflict, they regret the things they did, or the words that they said. So this slide just shows a like the trajectory that happens when there is conflict. So first of all, there is a trigger. Something something must happen, or some something must happen for conflict to start, which is the trigger. And then we have the reaction. Now, what is the reaction? The reaction is basically what you did when that conflict arises. And then we have the escalation. So what you did can lead to something bigger, which is the escalation. Then we have silence, which is a period whereby you just lay back a little. That is the silence, allow to allow your member to actually say what they want to say in the heat of that conflict. So when after silence, that's when you have unresolved tension. Then you become agitated, and after that we have the re-trigger, and then you get triggered up again. So breaking the loop requires catching yourself at step one. So you have to catch yourself when there is a trigger. So the next slide, please. So why do we handle conflict properly? So the first reason is ignorance. Many people were not taught how to handle disagreements in healthy ways. So they just simply repeat what they observed growing up. So the second reason is competition. So sometimes we approach conflicts with the goal of winning rather than understanding, and we become more interested in proving our points than finding a solution. The next reason is assumptions. We often assume the worst about people's intention without seeking clarification, and instead of asking questions, we tend to jump to conclusions. Now, the fourth reason is delay. So rather than addressing the issues early when it just happened, we often try to avoid the difficult conversations, and then we have unresolved conflict building up. And I tell you that it will get to a point that that day you just bust out all the unresolved conflicts that you've built up over time. So the next one is poor response. So basically, when conflict happens, with because our emotions are high, so people tend to say hurtful words, and those hurtful words are the poor responses that we give to conflict. So finally, we have fear. So some people have learned to associate conflict with danger. So as a result, they either avoid conflict completely, or they become defensive whenever it occurs. So understanding these various barriers is actually the first step to overcoming conflict. So the next slide. So in the next slide, we have the 5 conflict styles, which are avoiding, competing, accommodating, compromising, and collaborating. So for for avoiding, the person tends to stay out of it, tends to withdraw from it. Sometimes we should understand that this is useful, especially when emotions are very high. But however, if we use it too often, important issues remain unresolved. So for competing, the person says my way or no way. That means your main focus is majorly on winning. Why this method can be useful in urgent situations where quick decisions are needed, but over time it tends to damage relationship when it's overused. So the third style is accommodating. Yeah, the person say fine, whatever you want. So they prioritize the needs of others over their own needs. Why this style tends to promote harmony, but other times it could lead to frustration and resentment. So the fourth style is compromising. Here the person says let's both give a little. So each side sacrifice something to reach an agreement. So this method often provides a quick and practical solution. Now the fifth style is collaborating. The person says let's solve this together. So rather than focusing on winning, both parties they tend to work together to find a solution that satisfies everyone. So this style often leads to stronger relationships and better long-term outcomes. Now we should understand that no single style is perfect for every situation. However, collaboration has been considered the most effective because it focuses on understanding, partnership, and mutual benefit. So at this point, I will hand over to my partner who will take us through the practical framework for conflict resolution. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Can you confirm you can hear me?
Sure, good morning. We can hear you.
Yeah, please, the next slide, please. Okay, so I'm Badamos Rukayat and I'll be taking over from my co-mentee. So she has taken us over to what conflict is, and now we have to work on a framework, on a structure model of how we can resolve conflict. So we have the connect framework. The first C meaning we can choose our own response, or we have to open with understanding, and we have to name the real problem and navigate solutions together. E, establish trust and safety. C, commit to action. T, track growth and accountability. So that's the connect framework. Please, the next slide. Okay, so this is a real world application of a community outreach project that almost failed. So we have a team of volunteers that have been given the task to work on a project. We have Aisha, who is the project coordinator, who is becoming frustrated because some tasks have not been completed in time. We have David, who feels that Aisha is too controlling and she's always micromanaging everyone, just giving tasks anyhow. We have Sarah, who contributes to the group, but at a point she felt that ideas were not considered, so she stopped contributing. And we have Michael, who consistently, repeatedly miss deadlines, increasing the burden on others. So we'll be applying our connect framework into this scenario and also into our own daily conflict life. Please, the next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so application of the connect framework. The first one, choose your response. So we actually have the power to choose our response. We can actually choose a different approach. We just have to know what triggers us. So at a point we can choose to pause, or if we are we can choose to pause. And if we've not learned, we are not self-aware, we can actually make damaging, destructive conversations that can actually spoil the resolution framework. So Aisha, in this case, she can choose to either criticize everyone for not working, or she can step back and understand that, okay, there's something going on. Then we have open with understanding. We have to seek first to understand before you have to seek first to understand before being understood. So some people have the mindset of, okay, what is going on with us? What is going on with us? Let everybody understand me first. But in the real sense, you have to understand what the other person is going through before they can actually understand you. So in this case, Aisha gives everybody the chance to talk. What is going on? David can say he doesn't like how Aisha is giving up the task. Sarah can also keep on that she kept on giving on ideas, but nobody's answering to our ideas. And Michael, we can understand that maybe Michael is going through some personal relationship issues or some personal problems. That's why he has not been keeping up with the deadline. So everybody should be given the opportunity to speak. Then naming the problem. So we have to separate the problem from the people. What's the problem? The idea of the outreach actually failing if there's a team conflict, if people are not working together and everybody is just doing their own way and tasks are not being done. So they have to name the problem. They have to understand what's important to each other. Aisha has to emphasize on the importance of the community outreach project because sometimes it might be important to her, but since the group members are not seeing the main importance of it working, they might just feel that, okay, that's how it's going to work out. Then we have navigating the solutions together. So Aisha it has to be a win-win situation. We cannot just be dropping deadlines for tasks that other team members cannot meet up with. They have to collaborate on a good timeline for what will work for them. Also, the leadership style. If David doesn't like her leadership style, they can rotate leadership within them. So also establishing trust and safety. If the member of the group does not feel that they are, if they don't feel safe, if they feel that they will be breaking their trust, resentment will come in, and that will also terminate a resolution to the conflict. Because if you keep on talking about people weaknesses behind their backs, if you are not constantly making sure that you're reaching out to them in their face, then that, okay, this is how we should work out things, not that you are talking behind them. This will break people trust if they get to hear that, okay, the other member of the team is talking about my weaknesses. So commission to action. Everybody should live with clear responsibilities on what they should do. They should not be ambiguity. They should not be assumptions. They should be a performance agreement on how they should work. Also, tracking growth and accountability. There should be a progress and annual reviews. There should also be a feedback culture, early feedback culture. If something is going wrong, they are not able to meet up with the project, the timeline is clashing, they should reach out early. If they feel that a member of the group is giving them issues, they should reach out early. Please, next slide, please. Okay, we have the key skills to build over time for conflict resolution. We have active listening. So active listening is different from hearing. Some people think they're listening to the other person's view, but they're not. They're just hearing the person. They constantly interrupt when the person is speaking. Before the person ends up, they already have their own solution in their mind that, okay, this is what should work for us. But that's not how it is. You should be attentive. You should understand from the other person's aspect of view. You should not be judgmental. And this is a very key skill, not actually built over it's not something that comes immediately. It has to take a while before it's built up, but it's something that is actually doable. Then we have emotional intelligence. This is a very key important skill. You should have that's the ability for you to recognize, to understand and manage both your emotions and the emotion of others. If you are not self-aware of your emotion, if you don't know your triggers, you won't be able to regulate yourself when a conflict comes out. So you have to know yourself. You have to be able to regulate your emotions that, okay, what this person is doing, I don't like it. Then you have to know how to regulate yourself. And also understanding the aspect of understanding other people's emotion. You can see that this person is angry. You are also angry, and then you are saying more hurtful things. So the conflict is not going to be resolved at any point. Empathy is a very key skill. This involves you putting yourself in the other person's perspective. If you ask someone now, they should explain why a conflict came up. They will keep on mentioning that the other person did this, the other person did it. But sometimes you don't look at your faults, you don't look at your own weaknesses, you don't look at what you have actually done. So sometimes you have to put yourself in the other person's shoe. What's the person feeling about me? What does the person even think I did? So it's a very key skill. Then clear communication. This is a very, very vital skill. Some people think that what they expect, their outcome should be self-evident, that everybody should understand what they want. Their views, their ideas should be shared by people. Like, I am me, and you should also be me. So that's why clear communication is very, very important. Some people don't understand what they are supposed to do. They don't know what is expected from them. Even in friendship, in relationship, in the workplace, teams, you have to be clear on what Patience. You have to be calm. Conflict resolution takes a lot of time. It's not something that can be resolved. It can be resolved fast, but in some cases it takes a while. So you have to just keep on putting the efforts you can. Then self-control. Self-control is also a key skill to learn. How to regulate yourself when your triggers come in. You have to also know how to let things go and get over with things and get on with it immediately. Some people don't know how to let things go. They keep on building conflicts in their mind, and the other person may not even put it that much on their self, but it's destroying you. It's destroying you. So you have to also learn how to build your you have to learn how to build your self-control. Please, next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, in conclusion, so conflict is unavoidable. There's no how, it's inevitable. So the way we handle it actually matters. It matters. It's actually a choice. Some people can choose that they will avoid it in total. Some people can choose to resolve it. Some people can choose not to even get into it in the first place, but it's actually inevitable. So the strongest relationship teams and communities are those who know how to go through conflicts. And a call to action for someone that you've been keeping in mind, you've had a conflict for, you can apply this connect framework and try to resolve things as it is. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that wonderful and insightful presentation. Thank you, Rukayat, and thank you, Abigail, too. So now we can proceed to question and answer session. If there's anybody that have one or two questions, you can maybe raise up your hand or drop it in the chat box. Please, question and answer. We can start raising up our hands. Hello, can you all hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay. Question and answer.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
Thank you for the presentation. So this connects framework, is it something that is readily available out there, or you just came up with it? That's one. And two, is it applicable in all scenarios? Because I know when you were talking, you talked about family, workplace, and all. Is it something that is even applicable when it comes to countries that loggerheads with one another, or it's just for the simple or small setting? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma, for that question. So the connect framework is actually a combination of a lot of models. It's like from the crucial conversations, Harvard negotiation model, and also IBM model. It can actually be applied to larger space conflicts. But most
Okay.
cases, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, it can be applied to larger case conflicts, because if you look at any model, the fundamentals are still the same thing that was discussed. You have to actually, most times when people are at loggerheads with each other, it's because they don't want to try to understand each other. They don't want to put each other in each other perspective, and they just want to win. That's it. They just want their own perspective. So if they actually apply this connect framework, in that they are able to sit down and actually reason together, it can go a long way in conflict resolution.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Please, is there any other question? question. If we have any question, we can drop them on the chat box or raise up our hands to or signify so that we can mute and then talk.
We have someone raising a hand.
Okay. Please unmute your mic and speak.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. It was well dished out. So my question is, what do you do when someone completely refuses to communicate? Because I know we're talking about putting yourself in the person's shoes, being emotionally intelligent and all of that. But when you meet a roadblock and you're like, this person is obvious that the person is adamant and does not want to listen, what do you do at that stand? Is conflict, is this something that's supposed to be managed when you cannot meet up or meet at a midpoint? How do you manage situations like that?
Okay. Thank you very much for the question. So in that kind of scenario, the person doesn't need to communicate, but I feel that um we should try to create conditions that we actually make the person want to communicate or respond to you. So basically, you could just like stay calm, then after you respect their need for space, because those kind of people, they want to like have have a need for their space. So you have to respect that. But then going forward, you have to bring up scenarios or conditions around that problem that we actually want the person to communicate. You could tell them that, okay, I am open for a meaningful like conversation. So this keeps the door open without you applying pressure. Then when the person is ready to communicate, um because the person knows that, okay, the door is open for me to come to you when I am ready to talk about it, the person will actually bring it up by himself or herself. So, but then lastly, you have to reflect on your own part. Did I say something or do something that made this person not want to like communicate to me, so that we could resolve this conflict? But then if they insist on not communicating, I just feel we should set healthy boundaries. So communication is not something that you can force, but you can create doors or create platforms for it. So that when the person is ready to talk, so the person will like come to you, so both of you could talk to resolve the conflict. Thank you.
I have an addition to that. Okay, so if the person is not ready to like communicate with you, you can try reaching out to another person. So you can try reaching out to another person to reach out to that person. And that person can just try to find out their side of the story and understand why the person is not open to communication with you. So if that's the person is able to come back and then discuss with you what is wrong, you can know how to actually approach the person, whether it's actually a conflict that can actually be resolved or it's something that it should be avoidable. So you can actually try intermediary too. It might not be you reaching out, it might be you reaching out to another person to reach out to that person. And then you might not let the person that is on the other side should not even know that you are the one that sent that person. Like the other person just say, okay, I noticed that you guys have not been talking. Is there something going wrong? Then the person can be more open to that other person, and then you can just find out what's actually going wrong, and then you can say how you can resolve the conflict from there. I hope that answers your question.
All right, thank you so much,
Thank
Rukayat
you.
and Abigail. So is there any other question? Okay. So in the absence of no question, we'll be moving on to hearing from the founder of the foundation, Miss Mistura, to share her feedback to today's session. Please, ma, you're welcome. You can speak, ma, now.
Thank you very much, Mukhtar. Thank you, Abigail and Rukayat, for this presentation. I learned a lot and I have written a lot down. But before I go ahead with my own feedback, I think I'll call on others to give their feedback. So I'll call on Mentor Oluwatobi first. Please help us with feedback for the mentees.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Abigail and Rukayat, you've given a very wonderful presentation, honestly, because it looks very professional. And I'll first leverage on what I really like about the presentation. So I'll divide into maybe like several sections. But before I go into that, so I would also just want to remind us of the essential frameworks when it comes to giving a presentation. Honestly, this is a very important topic. And it's before we can know how important this particular topic is, we have to get into a particular position, most especially a leadership position in the industry. So I've been opportune to manage a lot of people, and this is one of the key strengths that any leader should have, because you have to work with different set of people, and you know that conflict resolution is one major thing that you always have to like deal with on a regular basis. So it's actually one of the things that makes you a good leader or otherwise. So I will divide the factors when it comes to the presentation itself into different, maybe like several outline on headings. So the first one is that for it to be engaging, it has to be sometimes emotional, sometimes it has to be memorable. Whatever impact or impression you have left your audience with, goes along with them. So I would say that for this presentation, I learned a lot, and I'll have to like leverage on some key areas of improvement, because you have lots of strength in terms of giving your presentation. So the first area of strength that I would look at is your knowledge of the topic that you just presented. So the way you made the presentation, like Abigail as well as Rukayat, you showed us that you've practiced, like you were able to like engage yourself. You actually know exactly what you're presenting, or you've read about it, and it makes so much sense because of the flow that I saw in your presentation. So you have a very good understanding of conflict resolution as regards this, as far as this presentation is concerned, and in terms of the practical case study, because the very first instance I saw your presentation slide when we wanted to start, in my mind, I was like, I hope they'll give a case study. So this makes so much sense, right? So you gave a case study, which makes it like well, you said practical framework. So it makes it practical so that we can visualize or probably know in our head, like, oh, this is real. This is how it should look like, right? Then, so in terms of the feedback, so I'll divide it into two. The first one is the content. So I will give a feedback on your content, like what you have in your slides. So the first one is you give a real practical scenario, which makes so much sense as when you give something like this, so it adds so much credibility to what you're trying to say, and people can relate with it. Then whatever you've provided is relevant, so it's not like out of line or out of scope, which makes so much sense. But the areas where you need to improve here, I would say that there's something they call content density, right? So sometimes you have like maybe slightly more content in your slide than it should be. And in that case, you should understand the pitch of your voice when you try to make presentation. When you have like much content in the slide, you lose a bit of confidence when you're trying to. I saw some visuals at some point, and it's when you don't have much, it's like the way you presented it was like very, very fluent, very, very smooth. But if you have so much content, you understand, maybe not just like an outline, then sometimes because you just have to explain all the slides, sometimes it might affect in terms of the variation of trying to like gain like a smooth confidence or something it might be. So you just take note of this in case for subsequent presentations or maybe later in life, you understand. Yeah, so and in some cases, you did like a blend of reading from the slide and also trying to explain what you read, right? Sometimes we might have it, if it's on a large scale presentation, we might have what we call the engagement might, be reduced. You understand the way the audience engage with your presentation. Okay, so then after the content, I'll also look at the delivery. Okay, so you are kind of very confident, actually. I must say, and I think this is just like one, because you've done your assignment very well and you also did your practice very well, right? So it shows you are well prepared for your presentation. So, but just like I've said, in terms of variation in confidence level when transitioning from where you have bulk content in your slide to when you don't have, so it's like kind of, it can vary a little bit. Maybe most people may not notice, but I noticed that there are some points where you have to like struggle a bit to make such present, make me be like regain your confidence, even though you regain it, but something has actually affected the flow. Okay, so most times you can give the slide for people to just see the content, while your explanation sometimes might be independent, depending on what you. In some cases, you might need to read some things from the slide, while in some cases, you don't even need to like read from the slide at all. You understand? So you show less, then you say more. Okay, so then I think you have more like consistency in the way you pace your voice. Then I would also look at the slide part of the design. So I've discussed something about the content, the delivery, then the slide design, right? So I like the logical way, the way you've like this kind of coherence in terms of the way you designed your slides. And you gave example, which is practical. I think that's like I love the aspects where you gave your a case study, like the practical approach to what you're presenting. But yeah, so area of improvement. Look at your headings for most of the slides, right? They are not bold. I can see like you have more like maybe small heading, because heading like projects what you're trying to present, right? So you don't want to keep it like just you want first your voice, your font size to be consistent. So you need like this consistency in your font style. I think you did it from most of the parts of the presentation, but your heading in general, the heading is like which is like what you have at the top, so you can see it should. I think it should be bold enough, and that's like what should catch our attention, right? So except if there is a reason why this is done this way, then the second part is that the visuals. See, presentations like this, we need more visuals for us to engage more. Sometimes people only look at the visuals in your presentation. I can see you have some very interesting visuals, right? But honestly, it should have been, because this is the area you're kind of talking about, it can be done with a lot of visual. I've presented, something similar before. I've seen people making such presentations before. When you don't really have much visuals, it's kind of the content or the presentation becomes heavy. Text heavy. We call it text heavy, where you have like more content and it may reduce engagement in terms of, so some people will just be looking like they will like your slide because of the interesting visuals you have put into the slides. She understand. So then in terms of the text alignment is another thing you want to improve on. So in some cases, some icons, but the ones you have presented, for example, when you have like visuals and you were talking about the self-control, the patience, empathy, clear communication. We have less content in that slide, and easily I was like very focused. Yeah, key skills to build over time. I was able to engage, and in terms of your own confidence level, when you were even explaining such, it's like 100%, or let me say near 100%, right? So you should, in terms of the area of improvement, you should improve your headings, right? Like always try to like make it bold, because this is like what passes the message about the contents of the slide. Then make sure you work more with visuals, maybe icons, images, diagrams. You've done some perfectly, but there's always area of improvement in the overall slide. Yeah, so engagement. Honestly, I appreciate the way you have presented, and it looks like, oh, this is really good, right? So I don't really have much to do that to say there, because you gave us case studies, you like, it's kind of, but you can still work a bit on the pace, but the pace is still linked to the confidence level, right? You have so much confidence, and it will be a function of what you have in your slide. Sure, you get. So maybe I don't know if I've said something, but the idea is strengthen your confidence, which is you've done that through rehearsal and very good preparation, but maybe just like most of the things are just from the slide. So overall, you've actually done a very good job, and I would say well done, because you've prepared a lot, and this is really, really good. But just work on those little feedback that from my side. So thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you, sir.
Wow, that was detailed. I hope you guys can see the amount of work he put into listening and taking notes of everything he said. And I hope in future presentations, this will be implemented. In future presentations, this will be implemented. So let me see if Miss Oluwakemi is still on the call. Please forgive that background noise. Mrs. Oluwakemi, do you have comment from your end? Mrs. Oluwakemi? Okay. So I will just go ahead from my own end. Please, 2 minutes. Apologies for the interruption. So I will just do a quick recap. For me, like Mr. Oluwatobi has said, the transitioning was smooth. It is obvious that you guys practiced this. You didn't just, even if you did not practice, there was frequent communication. Because the way Abigail stopped, you took over. But in that transitioning, you made a mistake in between. In the middle of a presentation, you don't reintroduce yourself. You have already been introduced earlier. So if both of you still wanted to let people know who was speaking, or maybe you wanted to introduce yourself aside from the profile that was read, which normally is not necessary, you should have said your name at the beginning, or you say your name at the end. The moment you say your name in the middle of a presentation or you say thank you, you've automatically told people that you are done with your conversation. So you don't do that in the middle of a conversation. Even if you are up to 10, the next person just comes up to speak. So if there's even going to be an introduction or anything, it would have been before the initial speaker. Maybe Abigail would have said, the way she said, my co-mentee, she would have maybe called your name, Rukayat. And that's because maybe she said her name in the beginning. And she already mentioned both of his name in the beginning, which I feel is maybe not necessary. Except she just wants to say, my co-mentee Rukayat is going to take up from here. And you should just take it up from there. No thank you, no reintroduction, no topic, just go ahead because it is one presentation. You're not talking about two different things. In terms of your slide arrangements, I noticed you could have been better in your slide 10. Let me go back to the slide. I will not really talk about slide content in the sense that for me, it can be either ways. I like to have few contents, but if I'm going to even have more content, I would have them with some icons and ways that is going to attract people, not just putting them up like this. But I feel this your slide. Okay, you just read through it, then you move to the case study. The transitioning was not smooth. I feel after this connect slide, this is what should have followed if you add this. So you can explain this, then you go back to your scenario slide. So on this scenario slide, you can have maybe a small picture of your connect framework, probably situated somewhere on this screen, so that anybody that joins your presentation anywhere, you have it here, and you read your case study, you explain whatever application through the connect is applicable to this your case study. So at that point in time, nobody is wondering, you explaining Aisha, Michael, and the likes on this slide, and they're like, what's happening? So this would have been the perfect place for you to have a small connect, and it should come after this particular slide. It should be slide 8, 10, 9 in terms of arrangement, if you get it. Then, yes, I love the fact that he used the case study. Like, it was just superb. He made it really, really, really understandable. And at some point you read through the slide. So one thing, just like Mr. Abib Oluwatobi has said, don't read the slide and explain. Explain through your slide. It's people that should read your slide, not you reading the slide. Yes, you started out very well, Abigail, very, very well with the engagement, but you did not follow up. You asked us questions. You told us to write something in the chat box, but you didn't go back to it. You didn't even acknowledge the fact that we wrote a response in the chat box. You didn't acknowledge the fact that we gave answers and how the answers are applicable to what you're saying or how you go back to it at the end of your presentation. Then your time management was superb. You spent even less than your time. That was good. Immediately I saw the number of slides you had, I was like, yeah, this is it. You don't have to have, like, for a short presentation like this, 12 slides is fine, perfect. Except you are teaching in a class, that's when you have 30-something slides and all of those things. But for things like this, icons, short slides, and that's it. Yes, and for answering the questions, yes, it shows that you guys know your topic. You didn't just read the topic, you didn't just come up with a topic. At some point, I felt maybe it's because of the course both of you are studying. And I was like, okay, pharmacy. I could maybe understand from the point of Abigail. She is studying physiotherapy. Maybe, yes, would have done some things in that aspect. Then pharmacy, I was like, okay. But obviously, you guys are aligned and did your assignments very well. So this is really, really good. I want to commend both of you. And well done for a great job done. Well done. Well done. Please, let's give them a round of applause. Let's give them emojis. Let's celebrate them, please. I want to see the emojis, please. Thank you, Mr. Oluwatobi. Thank you, everybody. So Mukhtar, over to you.
Thank you much for this question.
Your network is really bad. We can't hear you. Your network is breaking.
Now,
No, no, it's not yet good. Okay, maybe we can just hear one or two things from Abigail and Rukaya before we close out on this. Who will go first? Abigail or Rukaya? Anyone?
Sorry, my name.
Okay.
Okay. Abigail, okay. Abigail, let me help you.
Okay, good afternoon once again. I remain Abigail. So, okay, I don't really have much to say. I just want to say thank you for listening to our presentation, and I trust that we took one or two key things that we are going to try out anytime we experience conflict, or something that we are going to tell others about when they are going through conflict. So thank you so much once again.
Okay, thank you very much. Rukaya.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a very big thank you to the organization and to the audience, and especially to the judge, because I really wanted that um, feedback on how to work more on my presentation skills. So thank you so much, and I hope that we gain one or two from here and don't avoid conflict, but rather try to resolve it.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad it was helpful, and we look forward to your presentations in future, and maybe even a part of the foundation. We really can't say. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining, and have a lovely day ahead. Bye.